Let's start with the decision to not stream this and work from there. You have to see it from my perspective and understand what's happening here. I got called a scammer and a fraud by a guy who can barely rub two sticks together. I know Brown Baller came out and said, like, oh, Nick is extremely talented. He's one of the best natural talents I've ever seen. Listen, after those first 6.5 hours of play, he is just in a void, clicking buttons and praying that it all works out. And the fact that somehow this loudmouth got a platform large enough for people to start rallying behind that cry, to me, is just like the biggest spit in the face and fuck you that the community could throw at me. This is about one thing and one thing only: taking his fucking money. And streaming is massively negative EV for my bottom line. This coward immediately went to Daddy Doug and said, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Make me better, please.
Go call Doug. I will. He's helping me. I know. Why do you need help? I'm going to beat your ass. You don't need him then.
You know, when you play somebody heads up, there are adjustments that take place throughout enough hours. You're playing a different person by the end than you were playing by the beginning. I'm playing someone different every 25 minutes. Things that were reliable 35 minutes ago are now suddenly being corrected. I honestly feel like I'm playing against a team. Nick wanted to have his friend Ishan sitting behind him for the duration of the match. One, it gives him an audience to play to. And number two, it gives him another set of objective eyes who's actually capable of writing a hand history. Seems silly. We're playing a one-on-one sport here. Like, involving a team is absolutely ridiculous, especially when this guy called me out. On day one, Nick said, look, man, I drink a lot of water. I pee a lot, so I need to take some breaks. I'm like, okay. Like, I was thinking to myself, like, yeah, man, 6.5 hours is a long time. I drink a gallon of water plus a day. I'll probably want to hit the head a couple times myself, right? We take 3 breaks on day one. And on the first break, he goes to the bathroom and I'm just kind of sitting there and I was like, well, you know what? I should just go because I don't want to be the one to prop up another break in like an hour. So I walk in, I trail him like 5 minutes behind. And he and Ishan are like leaned up against the sink so I can hear them already talking. And I'm like, Queen 6 suited. I walk in and I just give them an eye roll and go and piss. And they like walk out and leave. So I text Landon and I was like, all right, we had our first break. Already had a secret meeting with the emotional support human in the bathroom. And then he took it from there. Day one went pretty smoothly. Awesome session for me. I was up 400 at the peak. Ended up losing a big pot. Came into day two and I will say that like Nick made some notable corrections. I got lucky in kind of a cooler spot where we played a 5-bet pot where I had ace king and he had jacks. So we put in 40K each pre with 80K behind, 60K behind, sorry. So we arrive at flop with like 0.7 SPR. Comes king, queen, jack. I bet 10% and call off a shove. End up rivering a 10. Yeah. Lucky day for me. That prompted our first break. He didn't even pay. He just left. He just left the room. I had to sit there for 5 minutes waiting to get paid. I'm not kidding. He just darted out of the room as the river hit. Came back, took a picture of what happened, finally paid off. We play on. This was the theme of the day. Me sitting and waiting. There was another big pot that I won where I rivered a flush and he paid off, stormed out, didn't even pay for his massage. She just stood there like, what the fuck? It turned out to be 10 total breaks over the course of 6 hours. To call egregious would be
an understatement.
An understatement, yeah. So I thought Phil actually made a really good point. We were discussing in the arbitration chat. I was like, listen, like this can't be a thing, man. We can't have more breaks than hours played. Like that's ridiculous. And he's like, I have to pee a lot. And Phil's like, well, if I watch 6 hours of Hustler live, would you also take 10 breaks? And obviously the answer is no. All jokes aside, I actually want to talk about why this is so bothersome to me. It's for 2 reasons. One, it gives me few hours to play against Nick, where I think I have an edge. And number 2, even if I get those hours back, it negates the edge that I have now. His team wants to get through today as fast as possible with as little damage as you can imagine so that they can grind Tuesday through Friday and try to cram, you know, a decade's worth of heads up knowledge into his brain. To me, this is utter cowardice.
Yeah.
Like
right,
if
exactly.
I call someone a scammer,
correct,
and a fraud on the biggest platform in that industry,
yeah,
I am certainly not going to be so overt about like how terrified I actually am of that person.
Right.
I mean, to take 10 breaks, and I caught him on the phone in the bathroom, like probably talking to Daddy Doug. It's just like, he's so shook. He can't play for longer than 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is like 10 hands, maybe fewer. On top of that, he's on his phone during hands the whole match. I'm to a point where I feel like I'm playing against a fucking team.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like I'm basically playing against a super watered down version of Doug. Of course, like, I understand that he's free to do as he wishes in his downtime. If you want to try to get better, that's on you. Go ahead. But like, to steal the time away during the match in order to cover up his leaks in real time, like, this is the most cowardice thing I've ever seen. For a guy who got platformed by Polk to call me a scammer, this is the scammiest shit I've ever fucking seen. What I said in chat was, listen, I may have been guilty of this too, but I'm saying moving forward, we should never be actively on the phone during a hand. And I got told to suck a dick again.